back. Today our item, or actually items of the week that we're going to be examining, are going to be cannonballs, and everybody loves the history of cannons and cannonballs. So this is exciting for me to walk through with all of you. And what we're going to do today is just a kind of summary. Is we're going to look at 3 cannonballs that I have in my collection, different sizes, and we're going to look at some different characteristics of those cannonballs to determine perhaps what type of cannon they were shot out of, or what type of cannon they were made to be shot out of, the material. And we're going to look at at least objectively, whether or not we believe that these are real cannonballs, because there tends to be some confusion in the antique world about, what is a cannon. Just because it's a round, heavy ball does not necessarily mean it's a cannon. There are a lot of fakes going around in everything from coins to other artifacts, and especially cannonballs, because if they are real and they come from a historic site, then they can be quite pricey. So of course, anything that comes with a high price tag will have counterfeits going along in the marketplace. So what I want to do is I just want to show you a couple of techniques that you can use to try to get a little bit more information about your cannonballs. Okay, or grape shot. Smaller cannonballs, they were called grape shot. Okay, so here we are. So went outside, it's a nice day today, and put out those 3 cannonballs I was talking to you all about. And you can see they're different sizes. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some measurements, so welcome to a chemistry class, maybe some physics. And so let's take a look at some of the things that you're gonna need. Pretty simple, probably have them around the house already. If not, they're pretty cheap to purchase. We have a magnet. I've had this magnet for a while. I use it for magnet fishing. I have some other magnets for magnet fishing, but that's one of my larger magnets. Have a tape measure, and this tends to be a little bit easier to use than those ones that retract. So this is just a plastic one that they use for tailoring in the clothes business, to see how wide your neck is. And of course, we have our scale. So and pretty much any scale will do. And of course, have a pen and paper. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to list the type of cannonball, and we're going to have a couple of categories here. I have whether it's magnetic, the circumference of the cannonball, the diameter of the cannonball, and the weight of the cannonball. And so these are some of the techniques that you can use to get a more positive identification for cannonball. So let's start with this little guy here. We'll start with the smallest one. So this one was purchased in Tennessee. And the story that goes along with it is that it was a Civil War era grape shot, because you can see it is smaller than some of the other ones that I have, which are more typically known as cannonballs. So this is known as grape shot. It does have some weight to it, and we're going to do a little analysis on this guy. So let's start with the magnet. So now, an item that is magnetic has ferrous metals in it, so generally iron. And that being said, iron was the most common material or metal used to make cannonballs. Sometimes they were made of lead, but iron was cheaper, it was stronger, and again, more often than not, they're going to be made of iron. So, and iron is magnetic. So let's take our magnet and just place it on here and see what happens. Oh, and felt it catch, and you can see that this cannonball is in fact magnetic. So high likelihood that it has ferrous metal or iron in it. I'm just going to leave that magnet there for the time being. I'm going to go back to my chart here, and I listed this particular cannonball as Tennessee grape shot, and it is magnetic. Okay, the next measurement I'm going to take is I'm going to look at the circumference. Now, the circumference of a cannonball is the distance around the entire cannonball, and right now that is 9.5 inches. So I'm going to write 9.5 inches down. In the circumference. The other measurement we want to take is the diameter. Now, the diameter is different than the circumference. The diameter of the cannonball is going to be the distance from the center line. So instead of going all around the cannonball, we're going to look from the center line, and we're going to find out the distance from one side to the other, down the center line. So it's a little hard to do this with just using one hand, but the center line seems to be about 3 inches. So I'm gonna go 3 inches for our diameter. And the next measurement we're gonna take is the weight. So let's take a look and see how much this cannonball weighs. Okay, so I went inside and I got a smaller scale here that'll be a little bit more accurate to use for this smaller grape shot. And what we're gonna do is we are going to take a look at the weight of this cannonball. Looks like we are at 3.495 pounds. And the weight of the paper towel was about 0.12. So this is actually a 3.5 pound cannonball. So we're gonna 3.5 pounds for that grape shot. All right, so let's move on to the next cannonball. So we have, let's go to the second biggest guy here. Now this is an interesting one because for a while, wasn't really sure that this was a cannonball, in fact, because it is much lighter than most cannonballs of this size. But let's do our first test. And what's interesting about this one is you see it as a whole. So this might have had an explosive inside of it to use as somewhat of like a grenade. So not even typically a cannonball, but it could have been like a grenade with some explosive material inside, where you can see that's bored in. It does make it easy to sit it on the table without rolling off though. So let's take our magnet and see. And this is not magnetic. You see that? It's not magnetic. So I'll go over to our pad of paper here, and I'm gonna list this as mid-size cannonball. And we're gonna go, no, it is not magnetic. Okay, let's do our next test, which is gonna be to look at the circumference. And our circumference is 15.5 inches for this guy. So again, we're gonna go over to our paper. I'm gonna put in 15.5 inches for circumference. Now let's take a look at the diameter. And while I'm doing that, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's a lot of, because it's not magnetic and there's no real iron in here that it seems, you can still see a lot of pit marks. You see some scratches and other use of wear. Take a closer look here at the hole. It looks like it was pretty crudely made, so as opposed to maybe a machine. So I did the diameter while the camera was off, and that came out to be 5 inches. Now the last test that we're gonna do, so I'm gonna put it on the larger scale here and see if it will register anything. Doesn't look like it is on that one, so we'll use my other trusty scale here. First we have to zero it out, and it looks like we are at 6.442 pounds. Okay, so let's take a look at our last cannonball, and I can tell you right now this is the heaviest one that we have. So first we're going to take our magnet, do the magnet test, and this is most definitely magnetic. This is an iron cannonball. I'm not going to even try to lift this up because it's so heavy. So we do have a magnetic cannonball here. And for this guy, we are at 17.5 inches circumference. And we are at 5.5 inches in diameter. And let's just pick this guy up and put him on our scale. And it looks like we are at 25.6 pounds.